In this video, we are going to discuss one of the major ratios in relative valuations, which is known as the price to book ratio, right? So price to book ratio is what we are going to discuss. Remember, in the price to earnings ratio, there was a discussion that there are problems in terms of assessing the price to book ratio for companies which have negative earnings. Now, if a company has negative earnings, then it might make more sense to look at some other ratios, because price to earnings would not make sense in that case, right? So now we look at the price to book ratio calculations, and we try and understand what does this mean essentially, right? So the way price to book ratio is calculated is this. So if we look at price to book ratio, it is nothing but the share price of the company divided by the book value per share of the company. Now, what do we mean by book value? Book value for a company is the share capital plus reserves and surplus. In other words, the value of equity of the company as per the books, of accounts. You can also find out the same book value as total assets minus all external liabilities, right? You repay all the current liabilities, repay all the non-current liabilities, and what is left is the book value of the company. Now, what do we mean by book value as such? It basically means if I close down the company today, then what is the value that the shareholders will get? So logically, if the assets are worth 10,000 crore and all external liabilities are 8,000 crore, then the book value, which is share capital plus reserves and surplus, should be equivalent to 2,000 crores, right? Which is, if I close the company down today, sell all the assets, repay all the liabilities, what is it that the shareholders are going to get? That is the book value of the company, right? If I again take this equation 1 and multiply the numerator and denominator with number of shares, what I get is equation 2, which is price to book ratio is equal to market capitalization divided by book value. Rather than trying to find the book value of the share, I can just take the market cap divided by the share capital plus reserves and surplus. Now recall, what do we mean by reserves and surplus? Reserves and surplus are all the undistributed profits of the company from its beginning till today. Correct? All undistributed profits of the company from the beginning till today is reserves and surplus. Share capital is the initial amount of money that the company had generated, right? So that is what we mean by the price to book ratio as such for the company. Now, when you're looking at the price to book ratio, and let's say we are standing somewhere here, then the beginning of the company, let's say this is where the company began its operations, and through these years, whatever is the amount of profitability that the company generated, what profits the company generated, but did not repay them, this entire portion is what is going to create your book value, right? In other words, this is the historical profits or history of the company that tells you what is the book value of the company, right? So if I consider the book value, basically all the profits that the company has kind of calculated till date will basically tell me, and not distributed them, will tell me what is the book value of the company. The market value of the company also looks at what is the future of the company. It does not stop at what is the book value only, right? So the market value of the company should be what the company has done till now and what is it expected to do in the future. That is what the market value should be, because stock markets run on expectations. You believe what the company is going to do in the future is going to drive the earnings of the company. We did discounted cash flow valuations, which were basically doing future projections of the company. So market value should be a sum of the history plus the future. Now, if the future is considered to be greater than zero or positive, right? If it is assumed that the company is going to generate some value, then your market value or market capitalization should be greater than the book value, right? So market capitalization should be greater than the book value of the company. If we say this is going to be greater than the book value of the company, then by logic in the definition we saw, this ratio should be greater than 1 for most companies, wherever you expect the future to be positive, right? Now let's take two cases. Take a case one where the company's where you find that the company's price to book ratio is less than 1. What does it mean? It means the market cap, for example, for the company is 800 crore, but the book value is 1000 crore. Correct? How do I calculate the price to book ratio? Market cap by book value. That should give me a value of 0.8. Correct? Now, what are the possibilities here? If the market allows for it, what should an investor do? You should buy the company. What is the outflow if you buy the company? It's minus 800. You should sell all assets and repay the liabilities. Repay the liabilities. Basically close down the company, right? What is the net inflow because of this? That will be equal to the book value, 1000 crore. So you spend 800 crore and you get 1000 crore. That's a riskless arbitrage of 200 crore, right? So theoretically speaking, if the company is trading at less than 1 price to book value, you could carry out this assertion. You could do this, right? So practically speaking, the company shouldn't, most companies should not trade at a price to book ratio of less than 1 unless you believe that it is undervalued. So logically, the market value should be higher than the book value. But if it is less than 1, there could be two possible reasons. The first one is it is undervalued, in which case you can buy the company and close the company down, right? When you close the company down, you sell the assets and repay the liabilities, and what is left is your money, and you'll make that money. The second possible reason is that it is an inefficient business, which means your future in this case is actually negative, right? Now, even if it is negative, theoretically you should be doing the same. Buy the company, close the business. If you think future is going to lose value for you or reduce value for you, it might actually make sense to cut down on the future completely, close the company and distribute the assets today itself, right? But there could be a potential situation in which the business cannot be closed down. Take, for example, a PSU business. If you look at a PSU business, which might be inefficient, right? What is the logical course of action? The government should close it down, but the government will not close it down, so it cannot be closed down. It can also not be acquired. Why will it not be acquired? Is because the government owns 51%, and unless the government chooses to sell its own 51% stake in the PSU business, you will not be able to acquire it. So if you cannot close it down and you cannot acquire it, then practically the inefficiency will persist, which will mean that the future will lose value, right? Which will mean there will be losses, which will mean reserves and surplus will go down because of the losses, which will mean book value will go down. And what the market is doing today is that the market value by book value is less than 1 because at some point of time the book value will keep going down to make this ratio equal, right? And that's what the market price to book ratio of less than 1 could interpret, right? So either it is a scenario where the stock is undervalued and you are not able to find the correct value of the book of the assets and the liabilities, and hence that is a distortion, in which case you should be buying out the company and close it down, or wait for it to improve the future, in which case the valuation should improve. Or it is an inefficient business which cannot be closed down. You either cannot acquire it completely, or whoever owns it today will not be closing it down tomorrow. So that's the problem with the price to book ratio calculation and understanding of this book value, right? Otherwise, logically, you will find that for most profitable firms, your price to book should be greater than 1, right? We can take a look at my various examples here. If you want, we can try and calculate this for our company Infosys. So for calculation for this ratio for Infosys, we'll have to go to the balance sheet of Infosys. So within our model, if you remember, we had the value of share capital and reserves and surplus. I can look at the value of share capital and reserves and surplus at this point of time, which is 1144 and 56682. Or even if I'm assuming that I'm in between these 2 years, I can try and find out what is the value at this point of time based on these numbers, right? If we want to find the latest numbers, then we can find out the numbers for the third quarter results. And if we remember, we had this press release of IFRS INR, which we were looking at in the context of our price to earnings ratio calculation as well. And we can look at what is the data of the company. The company must have released some balance sheet for the year here. And when you look at the liabilities of the company, you have the equity value given here. So share capital, share premium, retained earnings, some other hedges and other components of equity. Total equity value attributable to equity holders is 65516. 65516 is basically the total equity value. That's the book value, right? Your total assets minus all external liabilities is going to give 65516. That's my book value. So for Infosys, remember we saw the market value or market cap as 234000 and the book value is 65,500 odd crore. I divide and I'll find the ratio would be approximately equal to about 3.7 to 3.8 or approximately leading to 4 or somewhere there, right? That's basically the price to book ratio for Infosys, which basically means that the market believes that the history in Infosys case is worth 65,000 crore and the future is practically worth the difference, which is approximately about 170,000 crore, right? That's the sum which gives you the total market value of the company, which is 234,000 crore or 2,34,000 crore. And that's how you calculate the price to book ratio, right? Just take the market cap, divide by the share capital plus reserves and surplus or book value of equity, and you will get the market capitalization to book value or price to book ratio of the company. Right now, where is this useful? This is useful when earnings are negative because book value is usually positive. For book value to be negative, you have to have losses for multiple years for reserves and surplus to go out, right? So it is a conservative measure as well because it's an accounting measure and it kind of remains conservative in the overall calculations that we see. However, there is a challenge. When we look at relative valuations, we are primarily looking at comparison of companies. Now, price to book ratio, while is a relative valuation metric, is more like an absolute metric in its use. We just saw and said that the company's price to book should not be less than 1, provided its future is expected to add value, right? Now, when you compare it, let's assume two companies, same size, same business, started business operations in 2 different years, right? Now, if they have the same size and same business, they might actually have the same market capitalization, which might be X and X, but their assets versus liabilities number might be slightly different. Now, liabilities might be loans, so the liabilities again might be fixed in both the cases. It might be Y and Y. But the assets value for the company that is running 1990 could be completely different from the assets value that is in 2010 because these assets are carried on historical value and usually you will find B will be much higher than A. Why? Is because if the assets include a land piece that the company bought in 1990, the same land piece the company bought in 2010 would be carried at different values altogether. So what might happen is that when you're calculating the ratio, the calculation of the price to book ratio would be X upon A minus Y here and X upon B minus Y here. Because of the distortion in A and B, you could possibly see a reason that that the company's price to book ratio is different. Now we could argue that the market should know this and the market should take care of this, but sometimes because of the historical nature of the assets that are being carried, companies that are operating across different time zones but might yet be similar in size, you might end up seeing a price to book ratio which is different. It's difficult to compare those, right? And logically, then we can now arrive at our understanding on its use widely done while using to compare banks. Why is that so? Because in the case of banks, both A and B, these assets are largely financial assets in nature, right? So it's not like land or building that is the biggest part of the bank's assets. Bank's assets are primarily the loans it gives out to someone, and hence the bank assets are financial in nature, and hence the book value is not distorted because your assets minus liabilities is a financial number that you get. It's a financial number that you get. It is marked to market. It is at the current value. It's not carried at historical value. So that's the first reason why price to book is not a problem while using in banks. The second reason is banking financial, the statement that we see for banks is a little bit distorted in the sense it's a little bit different. It's interest earned minus interest paid. So that's the operating profit for the bank plus any other income the bank generates, like fee on checkbooks or transactions, etc. And minus operating expenses that the bank does. From this, you basically come with some sort of a measure of operating profit. From this, the bank is supposed to give out provisions for bad loans. Provisions for bad loans. Because of this, your profit number, and of course you give out tax as well. Now, a safer bank will give, so let's say there is a safe bank. If it is a safer bank, provisions will be high, which will mean earnings would be low. And because earnings are low, PE will appear to be high. If there is an aggressive bank, not such a safe bank, its provisions would be low, which will mean earnings would be high for the same set of numbers, which will mean that PE ratio would be low. So what would mean by our technical definition of relative valuation is that you should invest in the low PE asset, but you will miss out the safer bank in the process, the more conservative bank in the process. So in the banking sector, because earnings can get distorted as banks provide provisions for non-performing loans, book value might give you a better estimate in the case of banks. So that's why book value becomes an important indicator. Price to book ratio becomes an important indicator while evaluating banks. So as we come to an end of this particular session on price to book, let's answer the couple of questions. Why do you think price to book ratio should be greater than 1 for most companies? And why is it appropriate to use price to book ratio for the banking sector? Thank you.